Okay. This is mantra 2. कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीवे शतम समाः एवं त्वयेनान्यथेतोऽस्ति न कर्मा लिप्यते नरे. Can you check with the Gopal who is coming? Yeah. So Kurvan doing continuously eva thus iha during this span of life karmani work jiji shet. One should desire to live satam shatam 100 sama years evam so living twai unto you no another alternative ita from this path asti there is not karma work lipate can be bound nare unto a man. Translation: one may desire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. Oh, okay. Yeah, we are off. Coming? Well, wait for him, otherwise. Almost time will come. So anything you remember from the previous verses? So the first verse, first the invocation was there. So invocation was talking about how the absolute truth is complete, and from him the complete wholes are coming. So we saw that. Om Purnamada Purnamada Purna Purnasya Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Meva Vasishyati. That verse was there. Then second verse is talking about so one should live uh, with understanding, or one should have the understanding that one should know, one should have the knowledge that everything belongs to Krishna. Ishavashamidam Sari. And only what is allotted to one's quota, that much only he should take it. One should not try to encroach on this property. Just like that. One should not be greedy. One should know what is his quota, and one should know everything belongs to Krishna. Even though something is within his quota, but that is also belongs to Krishna. That also belongs to Krishna. But yeah, Krishna has given that as my quota, so we may utilize that in an appropriate way. But Ishavasya consciousness should be there, that everything belongs to God, Ishvara. Like that. Just find out who is he coming. Let's go and check out. Yeah, just Okay, anyway, let's continue. So now this verse actually talking about if somebody is following these two verses, previous two verses somebody knows, then what way, then what if that way one can live, his life. That's the proper way of acting. So, so the invocation talks about the material is complete for the purpose for which the complete whole has created it. And we understood the purpose was to perfect our life, to go back to God. That was the purpose. For that purpose, this whole material is complete. And the mantra one, Ishavashanka, everything belongs to Ishvara except what is allotted as our quota, and do not encroach upon another's property. Now the question comes that how do I practically live and work according to Ishavasya principle, which is given in mantra one. So mantra two answers, continue working, but work in such a way that your work does not bind you. So that's what he says here. That one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. That means in the way, what way? In the Ishavasya consciousness, that everything belongs to Krishna. If that is the consciousness, then one can work, then go on working. So continue working, but in such a way that your work does not bind you. So, and the next mantra, mantra 3, which we are going to discuss maybe tomorrow, the next mantra will describe the consequences of living in disharmony with Ishvara. When you don't work in that Ishavasya consciousness, then what happens? That will be discussed in mantra 3. So the progression is that first verse, invocation is everything is complete. The second is everything belongs to Krishna, Ishvara. And the third is work in harmony with Ishvara. That is third. Okay. And the mantra 3 will be otherwise suffer the consequences of disharmony. It's mantra 3. Clear, no? So what is mantra? What is invocation? Mantra. What is invocation? Everything is complete. And second is everything is belongs to God. Yeah, belongs to Ishvara. And third is, the mantra 2 is life, work in harmony with Ishvara, that is Krishna. And the mantra 3 is work in harmony with Krishna is mantra 2. Mantra 2. Current mantra. But if you are working in harmony with Krishna, you can go on working. And then the last is, the mantra 3 would be, the next verse would be, otherwise suffer the consequence of disharmony with Krishna. Clear, no? Obviously. Is it clear or not? No. So let's go ahead further. So the important expression is working in that way. So what is that way? See the translation. It says one goes on working in that way. So what is that way? So that way, when he said, that connects mantra 2 directly with mantra 1. My voice is clear, Ajit bro?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so working in that way means, what is that way? It connects mantra 2 directly with mantra 1. So what is that? Everything belongs to Ishvara. So that is the way. Accept one's quota. Do not encroach upon others. So live according to God's arrangement. Work in that consciousness, then work will not bind you. This is how we should work. So the issue is not, should I work or not work? That's not the issue. The real issue is, how can I work without becoming bound by my work? Should not lead to karma bandhan. Correct. No? And why does this mantra say that we can desire to live 100 years? What do you think? Why it says that? No? See, here it says, one may aspire to live for hundreds of years. You see, translation. So why it is said like that? Why should I be cycle for that consider working like so blessings? No, but why one may aspire? So if someone lives for hundreds of years, he will be bound by work what he does. But so we should not be bound by those work. Like
if you live for hundreds of years, you're bonding with, like, you will be bound by many words, right? So maybe in order to avoid those karma bandha, which will follow some. Sorry.
The point is that there is nothing wrong in living long. There is nothing wrong in living. Like when devotee is also there, when their health becomes bad. So we think no, that let devotee lives long. We always feel for the devotee. Like now, Prabhu Japtaka Maharaj is having some health issues. So many devotees are praying, may he live more. Why that kind of, because when somebody is living in the Ishavasya principle with that understanding, that his very presence is so wonderful, so glorious. He is not bound by his work. So he can keep living. There's something, for him there is no problem. But if somebody doesn't work like that, then what happens? Then he is going to incur so many sinful activities, so much sinful reactions. Then what is the use of working? Not going to help him anyway. So actually for a devotee, it doesn't matter whether he lives or dies. Because if he dies, anyway he is working for Krishna, he goes back to Godhead or he continues his service to Krishna. But if he lives, then the people around get benefited by his association. So when we are part of that association, of that wonderful devotee, then we may aspire for him to live for more years. We may want devotees to be with us. So we get his association. So one may aspire, somebody wants to aspire to live for more years because he wants to serve the mission of his guru, because he has some service, some instructions he has got. Like Prabhupada, when he got stroke, when he was like, after he came to West, again he got some serious issues. Then he bowed down to his guru, and he was talking to Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, to his photo. And my Guru Maharaj, my mission is still not over. So if you so desire, I can, if you give me more time, I can I can try to complete your mission. Like that. You understand? But otherwise, Prabhupada doesn't have himself, like, he like how materialists want to live long. So that kind of mood is not there for him. Devotee is only concerned about service, like that. So one may aspire to live hundreds of years. If he continuously goes on working in that way, fulfilling the mission of Guru, trying to serve Krishna, so it doesn't matter. So, yeah, so you may desire live for 100 years. If someone lives ignorantly and sinfully for another 50 years, then 50 years may mean more vikarma, more reactions, more bondage, more future suffering. So simply extending biological life is not necessarily a blessing. Simply extending biological life is not necessarily a blessing. But suppose a person is serving Krishna, living according to dharma, progressing spiritually, benefiting others, and not creating further karmic bondage, then every additional year is valuable. Correct? So others may also pray. May such a person live for a long time because his presence is beneficial. And therefore the question is not simply how long we live, but how we live. Wow. Question is not simply how long we live, but how we live. Well, how well we live, what the quality of our life. Quantity is not so important. Quality is more. So there are many, if you see in our tradition also, many great souls, they have not lived much longer. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived for how many years? Are you going to? Huh?
48. 48 years.
Yeah, 48 years, right. So Manmohan Shampur is 47. I mean, he will live for 100 years. But I'm just telling, imagine, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like not that, Manmohan Shampur is so young, you can see. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that age he left. But because our Manmohan Shampur is going to live 100 years. We all pray. He's fit also, it's good. But the point is, such a young. How many years Shankaracharya lived? 32 years. So I am 37. So 32 years, like, nothing. So we sometimes feel, I mean, I've not done much. But Shankaracharya, 32 only, he did so much of it. So, of course, he did another work of spreading my heart is a different thing. But point is that he came for a mission and he did the service to the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did so much. We have Chaitanya with them. So the point is, it's not about number of years, it's about quality. So we have to add quality in our life. Number of years, sometimes we are too much worry about adding number of years to our life. How can, but at least they always want to add years to their life. But we should add life to our years. That means quality. Quality, that's the point. So there is no alternative to this way, saying. Why he's saying there is no alternative way? You can see in the translation. Correct, no? It's writing here. There is no alternative to this way for a man. So why is saying no alternative? Because he's saying he continuously can go on working that way, but that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. So there is no alternative to this way for a man. That means man has to live like this. There is no alternative. So how can he say there are many alternative way a person can do? But why is saying there is no alternative way? So yeah, technically speaking, there are alternative ways also. Because billions of people living in other ways also, correct? Yes. So how then no alternative ways? So there is no other intelligent alternative. If you are intelligent, then there is no alternative. You understand, no? So, for example, if you are on 20th floor, from 20th floor you have to come to ground floor. So how you should come? There is no lift. How you should come? Staircase. That is the only way. Correct? But there are alternative ways.
Jump down the
Yeah, jump down. The alternative way. But that will create disaster. It will be very disastrous. The staircase is the only way down that way. But yeah, so if you, same way, if you live according to this Ishavasya principle, as per aligning with the Lord, so in that consciousness, then it's an intelligent path. But if you live independent of Lord, independent of Ishvara, then karma bandhana and suffering. Then you will get so much of karma bandhana and suffering. So another way may technically exist, but it is not meaningful alternative. Technically it exists, but it is not meaningful alternative. Is this clear? Okay, no? We can go next.
Purport.
Purport. Read the purport.
Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually, but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There's a hard struggle for life by all kinds of all living entities. And the Vedas say that this is quite natural, that being is eternal by nature, due to his bondage and material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul, or karma bandhana, bondage by one's work. Living entity has to work for the livelihood because that is the law of material nature. If he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and finds himself more and more in the cycle of birth and death and many species of life.
So now the Prabhupada begins the purport saying no one wants to die. So my question is, why nobody wants to die? Think about it. Why nobody wants to die? How this idea of community gets so right? Yes, why nobody wants to die? Who would like to see? Ajay, do you have any idea? Why this desire to continue existing is so deeply rooted?
To achieve like material desires and material attachments to like money, fame, position, relationships.
Correct. But the point is actually why everybody has the deep desire to live eternally, because we actually live eternally. The soul is eternal by nature. You understand, no? So the desire is coming from there. Like why we desire to be happy? Because there's an eternal nature of soul to be happy. You understand? So that desire is the deep rooted there. There. So that's why we want to be eternal. Why there is a desire to get so much knowledge? Because that's the eternal nature of soul to have knowledge. Satchidananda. We are made like. The soul is Sat, eternal. So that's why we have that natural tendency to live. We want to live. In illusion, we think we die, but actually we don't die. It's only we change the body. So our resistance to non-existence corresponds to our actual spiritual nature. See, our resistance to non-existence. If I won't exist after death. The resistance is there. We think that I won't exist. The resistance is there. That means actually we actually exist, and that proves that that is our actual spiritual nature, that we don't actually die when we die. Now the question is, one philosophical question can be asked: if the soul is eternal, then who experiences the suffering of death? Who experiences? Because soul does not die. Correct, no? The soul is not experiencing death. The dead body cannot experience anything. The dead body is dead. So then who suffers? Who is suffering? Yes. What do you think? This. You got the question, no? Soul is not dying. Soul is eternal. He is not experiencing death. And body doesn't experience anything. Body is dead anyway. So then who is suffering? No. So it's a very important question. Yeah.
No.
Correct. It's a good question, right? So, Bhagavad Gita actually explains that soul is eternal and body is temporary. We know that. And consciousness pervades the body because of the presence of the soul. Consciousness in the body, because just like sunlight illuminates its surroundings, like that. The soul is there, then consciousness is pervading throughout the body. So soul is conscious. Body without soul is unconscious matter. That is clear, right? But the soul identifies with the body. Soul is conscious, body is without soul is unconscious matter, but the soul identifies with the body. Soul becomes identified with the body. And because of that identification, what happens to the body? That the body experiences, whatever the body, we undergo. So then what happens? Because of that identification, the soul feels, the soul thinks that it's happening to me. It's basically identification. So why the soul suffers? Because of misidentification. Actually, soul doesn't suffer, only misidentification. So I'll give you this example. Let's say when you are in movie. So when hero suddenly dies, they're watching, we're absolutely absorbed, and then you also become stressed. You also feel stressed. So how you're feeling stressed? Nothing happened to you. You're in the same chair. Everything is perfect, but still you're facing stress because there is identification with that character. So you are like the person who's sitting in the theater, the soul, and that movie character is actually like your body. So when body something happens, then you feel also stressed. Another example I can give you, like say you are in a car and you park the car, you come up to attend Bhakti Shastri lecture, and then somebody tells, hey, that red color Mercedes-Benz car has caught fire. And then you have a Mercedes-Benz car red color. This is a parking lot, this got fire. So you feel so stressed and you're emotionally crushed. You become so angry and upset, and who has done what has happened, and you suddenly run away, leaving the class, and you go down, and you see the parking lot, that actually your car is completely fine. So there is another car some 10 feet away, same kind of area, but that's not your car, someone else's car. It was a red color Mercedes-Benz. Immediately you find relief. You feel, oh, so what happened? Just 1 moment before you're so stressed, now you're completely relieved. Nothing happened to you. But because you're identifying with that car, that's why you're undergoing that kind of emotions. You're getting this point, bro. The suffering is actually because of misidentification. All our sufferings are because of misidentification, because we become emotionally identified with those things related to our body. Body are related to body life. So this body becomes young, becomes old, gets sick, gets injured, eventually dies. So eternal soul identifies with the body and thinks this is happening to me. Therefore, the soul experiences trauma associated with bodily destruction. Correct. Same way, we are not also our mind. The mind may also undergo certain ups and downs. We are not our mind also. So eventually, we learn to not identify with body and mind, and then we can simply become a spectator. We understand I'm only spectator, and then we can have our own spiritual life on the spiritual platform, and we can have our own spiritual emotions. Yeah. So there are spiritual emotions to serve the Lord, to please the Lord, to have affection for the Lord. So that is spiritual attachment to the Lord. Those are spiritual emotions. But when you're caught up in the body and mind, then we are kind of covered with those real emotions of the soul. So, but why did the soul enter this movie? Why we have come to this theater movie? So why does someone go to theater?
Desire.
Yeah, to enjoy. It desires to enjoy. Right? So to enjoy the movie. Similarly, the conditions of develop the desire. I want to enjoy matter. So then when desire for material enjoyment is there, and there's so many material activity he does. Then karma he gets. And then again because of karma, again he gets so many material bodies. And he misidentifies with the body. And then material suffering continues. And then he again meets death of the body in another body. So like that continues. So eternal soul experiences the misery of mortality because of material desires and body identification. So many desires to enjoy materially. That's why this misidentification is there. In fact, when the soul wants to enjoy matter, I mean, when we want to independently enjoy the Lord, then this what is the false ego does? False ego actually connects. It actually makes the soul to identify with the body. It's only called false ego. False ego means misidentification. False ego. You think I am this body. I am this. I am American. I am Indian. I am rich. I am poor. I am tall. All this is called false ego. But what is real ego? I am soul. I am servant of Krishna. This is real ego. So this misidentification is actually false ego. The problem is not that the soul is mortal. We are not mortal. We are eternal. But the problem is that immortal soul, eternal soul, it identifies with something mortal. When we identify with temporary, then we suffer. That's the problem. So Prabhupada says that living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. Correct? Very right, seriously. Saying this. Living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. So, Krishna consciousness does not mean stop working. We cannot stop activity. Even maintaining the body requires action. Therefore, the question becomes which activities bind us and which activities liberate us. Correct, no? So living is eternal by nature, but it is bondage and material existence. He has to change his body over and over. This process called transmigration of soul, karma bandhana. The living has to work for his livelihood because there is a law of material nature, and he does not act according to his prescribed. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in many species of life. So the question comes, which activities binds us, which activities liberate us? That leads to these directly to the paragraph 2 then. What is going to liberate and what is going to bind? Because it's saying here, the liberty has to work for his livelihood because there is a law of material nature. If he does not act as per his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to cycle of birth and death in the other space of life. Now, this told in a one or two sentences is kind of telling that, okay, if you work as per the Ishavasya consciousness, basically, when you are work responsibly, then you are actually marching ahead towards elevation. And when you don't act like that, then you bind yourself more and get more and more karma bandhana and get repeated cycle of birth. Correct. So here he's saying prescribed duty. He does not work according to prescribed duties. But we will see more detail about this aspect of doing as per prescribed duty. But there is in general code, but there is also category to it. So that is in second paragraph to be clear. Somebody can read the second paragraph?
Other life
No,
forms,
somebody else.
other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, karma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called karma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. One of these three types of action that which frees one from the bondage of karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in the world or in the heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of both. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of three Upanishads.
Yeah, the three kinds of activities are mentioned: karma, vikarma, and akarma. Understood? No? So, what is karma?
Karma is one's prescribed duties. Akarma is free from birth and death. And the vikarma is freedom from the lower consequences.
No, vikarma is engaging in what is vikarma is what? Misuse of one's freedom, and that direct one to the and direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. If you say freedom from the lower forms of life, that is opposite to vikarma. So vikarma means sinful life. Sinful, irresponsible, unregulated life is vikarma. Karma is regulated life. Karma is regulated life, but as per the Vedic instructions, Vedic injunctions, but something like pious work. It's some kind of good work, which also leads to material destinations only. It's not, it doesn't free you. Like you do some altruistic activities, philanthropic activities, charity you give, for some mundane cause. So you're not doing akarma. Akarma is actually speaking, it is towards Krishna, towards God. When you're doing devotional service, when you're doing something, for the Lord, on behalf of the Lord, that is called akarma. Why it is called akarma? It doesn't mean that you're not doing activity. You're doing the activity, but it is not leading to any bondage. You're getting this point, no? You're not getting any karma phala. There's no karma phala. So that's very important. So now, so why human life is special? Other species also experience birth, growth, maintenance, production, deterioration, death. We know that, right? But human intelligence allows us to ask, who am I? Why do I suffer? Why do I die? Is there life after death? What determines my next body? What is karma? Can I become completely free from karma? All these things in human life only you inquire. Correctly. Therefore, the greatness of human life is not simply that human beings can enjoy more sophisticated than animals, which current civilization is doing. They're just trying to become more sophisticated in their attempt to enjoy. Correct? No? That's what they're trying to do. But human life actually is not meant for that. Rather, it gives us the opportunity not merely to improve our position. We may do that in terms of material existence, within material existence. We can live in a nice way, healthy way. And we probably will write eventually that how in human form life we have comfortable life. Animal life actually is very miserable. So we have got materially comfortable situation also, but with some responsibility. Probably will say in the future, like a clerk, he's working so hard, doesn't have much facility. The judge has a lot of facilities, but he has high responsibility also. So human life is given us opportunity not merely to improve our position within material existence, but to get out of material existence. That is a higher responsibility what we have got in human form life, to get out of material existence altogether. So generally, see, when karma, in general, people use in this world, the karma can be thought in 4 ways. People, like people can mean karma, differently. But what here he's talking 3 ways that we'll discuss about. So in general, karma, when we say, kuch karma karo, action. in general, people think karma to be some action. In general, karma. Any activity can broadly be called karma. In that context, also people use it. Karma also people use in terms of reaction. अरे सब कर्मा आएगा, अरे कर्मा मेरा कर्मा चल रहा है, मेरा कर्म उसका कर्मा मेरे ऊपर आ जाएगा, his karma will come on me. Someone say, और मेरे कर्मों का मेरे को मेरा कर्मा है इसलिए मेरे को दुख हो रहा है, because it's my karma, that's why I'm suffering. So someone says I'm suffering because of my karma. Here, then they usually mean I'm experiencing a reaction to my previous action. There is one another way. Also, karma can also be understood as like a law of action and reaction. Karma niyam. Do you believe in karma? People say, do you believe in karma? What does it mean? Do you believe in law of action and reaction? So this is another, in that context also may be used. So karma means the whole system connecting actions and reactions. And the fourth way, the karma which here it is talked about, is actually the proper distinguishing is karma, vikarma, akarma. You understand? No? So there are three types of activities: karma, akarma, vikarma, like that. So here specifically, in this, as a category of the activity, three ways it is discussed: karma, akarma, and vikarma. Yeah. So what is karma? In terms of karma, akarma, vikarma, when I'm saying, what is karma?
Karma, like
Regulated life.
work according to the Vedic scriptures.
Yeah, correct. So actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. That means this prescribed, regulated activity it is. We will come fast now.
अरे वो मैं क्लास में हूँ तो एक काम करो रात का उनको कॉल करो शायद वो हो गया होता है उनको बोल दो हाँ क्लास के बीच में 6:30 खत्म हो रहा था मैं कॉल कर सकता नहीं उनको ऊपर आने आके लेने बोल दो 15 मिनट में हो रहा है क्लास खत्म तुम उनको मंदिर में तब तक आने देते हो किस घंटा को अभी तो हो रहा है क्लास तो एक्चुअली वो मुझे बेड देना है
15 मिनट
बोला मैंने वो बहुत देर तक
कौन?
सुमित प्रभु के फ्रेंड
आप देखो बोलो ना, 15 मिनट है।
तो बोला अरे जल्दी कर दो तो वे
कर लें?
हाँ
Yeah. So what I was saying, So karma is more response. So that means prescribed duties, regulated activity. But as I said, it's like a good activity. It's like pious activity. It may not be, it may be devoid of the pure devotional paradigm. So examples like moral responsibility, performance of one's duties, following scriptural regulation, pious action basically. So it may produce favorable reactions, but remember, good karma is still having some reactions, material reactions. That we should know. So it will lead to some kind of good birth, where you may have. So actually, Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita also there are three kinds of piety. One is called Bhogonmukha Sukriti. Bhogonmukha Sukriti means this kind of activity, pious activity, by which you get material enjoyment. Like say you distribute food to people. So next life you may take birth in a in a home which is person who is the owner of the food industry. You may get that kind of birth. You give charity to poor beggars, or like that. You're very charitable. So probably you may get millions of dollars in next life. You may be born in a family which has so much money because you're charitable. And then so like that. So basically these are all pious activity, and for that you need to again come back to this material. What is vikarma? Vikarma is actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom, and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma, as Prabhupada says. So vikarma means prohibited or sinful activity. That is vikarma. So here is saying this one. So this is sinful activity. The person misuses independence that produces degrading reaction. So karma is favorable material reaction, vikarma unfavorable degrading material reaction. But both remain within material existence. What is akarma then? Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. This is especially important. Akarma does not mean no activity. The karma. Does not mean we simply sit inactive. It means activity that produces no binding karmic reaction. That's why it is called a. So activity that produces no binding karmic reaction. That is akarma. Therefore, one can be extraordinarily active and still be performing akarma. Like from morning to night, you may be active. You got up, you do Mangalarti, you chant, you cook. Like today, the whole day was, so many activities today I have. You got up, and then chanted my rounds till 4:45. And then 4:45 to 5:10, I attended Aarti. And then I brought some cutting vegetables and other things to the temple hall. And I was doing that activity while being part of the morning prayer. Then chanting, then cooking. Cooking went on till 7:30 around 7:30 something. And then again some charitam rounds. Then again, Guru Puja Aarti, then Bhagavatam class, then reading. And after reading, then taking prasadam. After prasadam, there were some replying messages, follow-up, things like that. And then after that, book distribution. No, after the brahmachari class. There was brahmachari class. And then after brahmachari class, then book distribution. After book distribution, then again, altars, the fruit offering service. Then again, okay, I took some fruits also, eating also. So eating was there. And then while eating, I was also talking to some students and replying and chatting. Made a follow-up. Chatting is not just chatting. Doing some this kind of messaging and follow, because it's today's program also. So something like that. I was like, yeah, and also I was preparing this also. Sure. Yeah, correct. That is a tangible amount I gave also. And then going through the verse and all that also. And then now, jump into class. And then now we again have another class. So now so many activities. I'm just telling, a small jiva, like who is doing that. Of course, the consciousness is another thing to think about. But at least the point is that it's not that inactivity. It's about so much activity. Same way if I can see, Prabhupada, so much is traveling all over the world, like that. So you are also working. You are getting up, going to office, working. But you're not working like a karmi or vikarmi. You are working in devotion. Because you may be doing job, you may be, signing, attending the meetings and projects and all that. But because your whole life is dedicated to Krishna, so that becomes akarma. So it is not like only a life of a brahmachari or sannyasi or that is only akarma. A life of a devotee like you, Sumitra, or Scott, when you're studying also, that is also akarma. How? Because you are doing all your activities centered around Krishna. It is done in that consciousness. Of course, how much we have that consciousness, that is, we have to see. But at least our overall life's direction is towards going to Krishna. So we are not doing it for some mundane some gratification. Correct. No? When a devotee is also working, a non-devotee is working. What is the difference? You may be working in a company and some your colleague also is working. Same thing you are doing. But you are doing akarma, but he is doing maybe vikarma. Because he's doing that activity and then using that money for some kind of sinful life. So that activity is leading to vikarma actually. So, but your activity you are doing, that is not vikarma, that is past life. Another example it can be given, like Arjuna is fighting, Duryodhana is also fighting, or somebody is fighting at the war, killing, and somebody is fighting, and somebody is killing like a terrorist. Both are killing, but one is doing akarma and then is doing vikarma, you can see. So it's not about activity, it's about its activity is done for what? Is it aligned to the Lord or not? That's the point. So, so then it becomes akarma. So therefore, one can be extraordinarily active and still be performing akarma. Ultimately, acting for Krishna's pleasure does not produce the kind of karmic bondage that keeps us rotating in materialization. Now, another thing. Now, it is like subtle point. When we are doing our devotional activity also. So, how much I am having that consciousness of pleasing Krishna? To that degree, we are actually making it akarma. But if I have fruity mentality, like I am doing book distribution, how much I distribute, and I want to put in WhatsApp group, everybody should say Hari Bol for me, or you understand, when we have some fruity mentality, then to that degree we are actually not aligned. I'm telling from a sadhaka perspective, like how we can fine tune it. So even though within our devotional program also, we have to align ourselves more and more with pure desire to please Krishna. To that degree, we can make our life karma. Otherwise, I may be worshipping deity, but I am simply doing it mechanically, karna padega, kar lenge thoda sa. If you have that mood, and we are thinking that, and when I'm eating prashadam, I'm eating because, it gratifies my senses. So understand, to that degree, we have that mood of our enjoyment. To that degree, we are not properly performing a karma. The degree we keep the mood of pleasing Krishna, to that degree, we are making our devotional activity also akarma. Though the very activities is actually part of akarma. It's meant for because you're doing it's for Krishna. It's meant for Krishna. But it's still depending on the consciousness, to what degree we are making it akarma. That is also our responsibility. Does it point clarifies? So I cannot give gold medal to myself. Oh, whole day from morning I was doing service to Krishna only, and I can give gold medal. Hey, gold medal to me. No, but what was your consciousness? How much you were consciously working for pleasure of Krishna? That also you have to see. Because we cannot just say, oh, my life is a karma only. Yes, it is overall, but we have still homework to do. Because we may be still having our own attachments and for our own gratification. Keeping myself in center, I will be doing many things. So that also we have to work. So we have to consciously, Raghava says that whole devotional service is what? Putting ourselves out of the center and putting Krishna in the center of all our activities. That is devotional service. It's not about the activity. It's about in what consciousness you're doing that activity. Are you keeping Krishna in the center of that activity? Or you're in the center? So Maharaj says, when you're worshipping the deity of the Lord, are you worshipping the deity of the Lord to decorate your false ego? Look, I have decorated the deity. And how, then everybody will glorify me. Or you are decorating the deity for the pleasure of the deities. Understand, no? We are cooking. Maharaj says this example also. When you're cooking, so are you cooking? So Maharaj says, are you dressing the deities or are you dressing your false ego? Are you decorating the deities or are you decorating your false ego? Sometimes maybe decorating the deity, but actually you're decorating our false ego only. So then we are not properly performing a karma. Though it is a direct devotional, thing what you're doing, but still we may not be making it properly a karma. So anyway, the point is, we are all struggling devotees. We are sadhakas. So we try our best. Try our best to keep that mood. under the order of Guru. We are doing very sadhana bhakti. So we try our best to do that in right way and with proper understanding. We try to do that. So that way we keep doing. Gradually, our life, as we become more and more purified, then we will be able to make it more and more akarma, of more and more greater quality. Is it point clear, Bro? Because we cannot just safely assume कि no, हम तो अकर्मा, हम तो devotee हो गया. No, but we can learn the lessons for us also. Because just we cannot count on all our activity, but you also see that when am I keeping myself in the center or Krishna in the center? What I am doing also, devotional activity also. So I think Prabhu, I have to end here because time is up. But tomorrow we can continue. But just 2 minutes are there. 2 minutes are there. Any reflections?
Reflection like
The reflection
Okay,
which you
Ajit,
shared.
yeah, you can share, Prabhu. What is it?
Yeah, so like one of the points which you like one which point which you mentioned in detail, how we should lead a life according to the karma vikarma akarma way, which is prescribed here in the purport of this mantra, to how we should live a regulated life, doing pious work as prescribed according to the shastras. That is something which kind of gave more importance of how we should lead a life. Like it was something which was blindly known, but then now I know the exact reason of what is the tattva behind it. So that is something which was a good takeaway point.
What is it, Prabhu? The karma thing is what we should do, or what is it? I could not
No,
get it.
no, like what I'm like we like on paper I knew that we should lead a life based on how Shastra suggests, but then the detailed reasoning of like what you spoke about, like how to keep Krishna in center of a life and lead a life and things like that, what you mentioned, yeah, that was a very good realization for me.
Yeah. So that is akarma. And just karma is like prescribed duties. So prescribed duties means when we do it, like basically karma kanda kind of thing. So we may be moralist because scriptures tell us to not speak lie, give charity, but there is no sense of God consciousness much. There is
Yeah.
more pious activities. So that leads to bondage. But akarma, as you said, that akarma is liberating, and that is the real platform of working. What Ishopnishad's second mantra is talking about. That like that one should work. That is what he's talking about basically. Work, doing your activity, making your activity as akarma, which will not lead to any kind of results. Binding results. Results means result will be there. Result is pleasure of Krishna. It won't be binding reaction. There will be some reactions to our activities. So that's why it is freeing us. And we discuss in detail how in our life we can. Though we are doing devotional activities, our ultimate purpose is to please Guru and Krishna, but also we have to fine tune our consciousness more and more. That doing it for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So that way we can make our activities more and more of quality akarma. Yes, Prabhu. Sumit, Prabhu.
Yeah. So we also in the beginning we discussed about invocation, like everything is complete. And we have three mantra. The first one is everything belongs to Krishna. The second one is work in harmony with Krishna. And the third one is face the consequence if you don't work in harmony with Krishna. And we also studied about karma, and karma. Karma is nothing but
Pass on.
work according to the Vedic scriptures. Karma is work that won't lead you to any reactions of material.
That is devotional service.
And karma is simple.
Yes, Scott.
All right. You can live 100 years if you're living in devotion and service. So like you can live forever. That doesn't mean anything unless you actually serve the Lord. Intelligent men serve the Lord. Extending life and your blessing unless it's through service, and that is beneficial. You align with the Lord the best way possible. What else? We still exist in the eternal world, but we do so in service mode. We change with time, but the body's still there. Soulless consciousness. The simplification of the body is that because it binds us in the material way of life. Suffering, business, unification. And you have karma, action of tragedies, and you have akarma, which is one Lord, no bondage, free from birth and death. And then Vikrama, which is a bad one, misuse of freedom, and for simple life, like philanthropy, which is helping one. Evil life is suspension of future advancement. Next life is from action of past life, and more intent behind actions or reactions.
Thank you. Let us pause here. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Tomorrow also we can meet 5:30. Or we can meet early, 5 o'clock.